guys, it's Sarah and today's Booklist Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library, and every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or topic that we feel like talking about for the week. And this week we are talking about popular authors. More specifically, we're talking about our favorite backlist books by those authors. There's a lot of authors that are very prolific. They have a lot of books. And then there are some that haven't written quite so many, but they're still pretty popular. Some authors are popular, but they're also controversial, and maybe some of that controversy makes them more popular. So I have picked some of the books from pretty big authors where if someone says their name, they know who they are, they know what they've written, and some of my favorite books that these authors have written. They are all backlist, so they're all older releases. The first one is incredibly prolific, and I haven't read very many of his books, but I'm definitely interested and I'm collecting them slowly. I've decided not to buy any more until I read more, but I have enjoyed the books that I've read by him so far, and that is Nicholas Sparks. And my favorite of his that I have read, I remember reading The Notebook a long time ago and loved it, but there's one that kind of hit me a little bit harder, and that is Safe Haven. So I would say of Nicholas Sparks' book that I have read so far, Safe Haven has been my favorite. And this one follows a woman who moves to this Carolina coastal area, and she ends up meeting somebody there. They strike up a relationship, but she is hiding a lot because she has run from an abusive relationship and doesn't really tell anybody that. So I loved this book, and it really surprised me how Nicholas Sparks wrote an abusive character so well. That really surprised me. I was not expecting that. It was a pleasant surprise. So yeah, loved this one. It ended up being a 5-star read, and I was not expecting that at all. So this would probably be my favorite backlist for him. The next one I want to talk about is one of my favorite authors, and every time I read one of her books, I have to emotionally prepare myself to go into it because I know it's going to challenge me, and I know it's going to make me think, and it's going to hit me really hard all the time. She talks about topics that are really hard to talk about, and I appreciate that she does that, and that is Jodi Picoult. And I have read quite a bit of her books, not all of them, but of the ones that I have read, my favorite has been 19 Minutes. This one follows a school shooting. And this one really affected me because you get the perspective from the shooter in here as well. And that made me mad almost, because I found myself feeling for him and understanding why he was doing it and feeling sorry for him. And I didn't want to feel that way about a school shooter because, we're so programmed to automatically say, this person shot up a school, they are evil, blah, blah, blah. But they're also human, and they have feelings, and there are feelings that cause this to happen too. So this one really explores that, and it made me mad because I was starting to feel bad for him, and I didn't want to feel that way. So that's what Jodi does. She makes you feel things that you're uncomfortable feeling, basically. And this one has definitely been my favorite of hers that I've read so far. The next one I want to talk about is a book I don't own physically. I should probably fix that. But it's Stephen King, and Stephen King is incredibly prolific. Oh my gosh, he has so many books. I've only read 4 of them. I've only read 4 Stephen King books. And of those 4, my favorite has been Pet Sematary. I listened to this on audiobook, and I listened to the version that was read by Michael C. Hall, and it was perfect. And this story surprised me. I was not expecting it to be what it was. It was just, whoa. And the ending of that book, my mouth was on the floor when I was listening to it. And I went, oh, that's how we're ending it? Okay. What? It was so good, you guys. And it has been my favorite. It was either between that or It. I loved It as well. But Pet Sematary, it really gave me holy crap feelings the whole time. And yeah, so that one has been my favorite so far. I'm still working on my Stephen King. I'm still, I will eventually get to a point where I read a lot of his work. But of the 4 that I've read, that one's been my favorite. All right, let's talk about the controversial I was mentioning. So one of my favorite authors, she is an author that I will read anything that she writes. She's an auto-buy author for me. I will buy her book if she comes out with one. And that's Colleen Hoover. I love Colleen Hoover. I have read a lot of her books. I haven't read all of them yet, so there's still a few out there I haven't read yet, but I've read majority, definitely. And picking a favorite was hard for me. Now, Colleen's a little bit controversial because she has been said to write problematic issues. I know that there are people who don't like Colleen Hoover and don't want to support her, and I completely respect that. I love her. I love her books, and I've immensely enjoyed every single one that I've read so far. So picking a favorite was hard for me, but I think the one that I picked is the one that really kind of made me feel a lot, and it really surprised me. And I had a lot of feelings about it afterwards, and that's It Ends With Us. This one follows an abusive relationship as well. And you're in the relationship with them and you're seeing what's happening. You're seeing how it starts. And you're really seeing kind of the characteristics of an abusive relationship being inside of it that way, because, you know, there are certain things that happen in abusive relationships, and she touched on those. And I think that's really important, you know. Because it's really easy for a lot of people to say, oh, why didn't you just leave? Well, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. So, yeah, I think this was a really great perspective for that. So loved this one. And yeah, it's almost hard for me to say it's my favorite because I loved all of her books. But yeah, I think this one gave me the most feelings. Okay, so this last author is definitely popular because she wrote my favorite book series of all time, Harry Potter. I'm talking about J.K. Rowling. However, I'm not going to go with Harry Potter because we all know I love Harry Potter. Like, that's not a secret around here, right? I'm going to go with something else that she's written because she has written other things. Now, I have read a little bit of them. I did read A Casual Vacancy, and I have read the first book in the Camoran Strike series, which she writes under a pseudonym as Robert Galbraith, but it's still her. So I'm counting that as one of her books because she's the author of it. So I haven't read absolutely everything else that she's written, but I'm getting there. That's all. That's, as far as I know, that's all that she's written besides the Harry Potter stuff. So between The Casual Vacancy and the first Camoran Strike book, my favorite has been the Camoran Strike book. I really, really enjoyed this. I read this recently, and it's great. This is The Cuckoo's Calling. This is book number 1. There are 4 books out currently, and a 5th book is coming out in the fall. It's called Troubled Blood. It's already been announced. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up because this is definitely a series I want to get into and read all of them because I really enjoyed this book. This is very different from Harry Potter. This is adult. There are some adult content. There's some adult scenes. There's some, there's a lot of violence. There's language, like all sorts of things. I was pleasantly surprised because that's kind of my jam. And that she was able to write something like that after writing Harry Potter, which is children's. So I thought it was great. I loved it. I'm very excited to keep on going with this. I loved Camoran as a character. And yeah, so pleasantly surprised by this one. So of J.K. Rowling, obviously besides Harry Potter, this would be my favorite. Okay, guys, so those are some of the backlist books that were my favorites from some of these popular authors. I'm sure you've probably heard of all of them. So let me know some of your favorites down below. Are there any favorites from these authors that I talked about that you have? Let me know what those are. And let me know what some of your favorite backlist books by popular authors are. Maybe some authors I haven't mentioned. I would love to know that. There are definitely other popular authors I just haven't read that much from, so I don't really have a big opinion about that. But let me know what your answers are down below, and make sure you go check out Lindsay's video today and see who she talks about. I'm really interested to see who she's going to talk about and what her favorite books are. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you're safe, and I will see you again.